job interview? Don't know how to answer the questions because you feel like you don't have enough professional experience? Well, if you're a volunteer, keep watching this video and find out how you can use your volunteering experience to sell the skills that you've got. Hello and welcome to this seminar, How to Talk About Your Volunteering Experiences in an Interview. My name is Alice, and in this video I'm going to be showing you ways in which you can use the skills and experiences that you've gained through volunteering, how these can be transferable, they can be applied to workplace situations, and how you can communicate this with an employer in an interview. At the moment I have 3 jobs. So I am a project officer at Voluntary Action Reigate in Banstead. I also work as a costumed historical interpreter at historic royal palaces and as a visitor services assistant at the National Portrait Gallery. For more than 11 years I have volunteered at a youth club which is local to me called Epsom Fab, which is for disabled and able-bodied young people. And the experiences, the skills that I've gained through this have been hugely valuable, both in terms of social skills. I've made lots of friends, happiness and fulfillment has been great for all of that, but also skills that, as I said, can be applied to a workplace situation, many of which I feel I owe a lot to my volunteering experience in getting me the jobs I have now. Especially when I was starting out, when I was very young, I wasn't able to get any paid work, but there was lots that I'd gained and learned through volunteering that I could then talk about and show that I'd been a very proactive person and I'd learnt a lot from as young as 14. So in this video I've got 6 key answers that you can give in any job interview you go to, and all of the skills that I will be talking about in this you will have gained from any volunteering opportunity, so regardless of where you volunteered, these will be applicable. And on top of this I'll also be giving you a few more specific examples to show you how volunteering experiences, certain opportunities can be directly linked to a future career. Point 1. What does your charity stand for, and how are those values reflected or embodied in you? So perhaps you've chosen to volunteer with a particular organisation because they offer experience that is directly relevant to a career path that you're looking to pursue, or perhaps you just thought they looked interesting, perhaps you're really passionate about it. Either way, you've chosen to volunteer with them because you like what they stand for. And this is really, really important. Passion is infectious. If you go into the interview and you say, this is something I feel very strongly about, you're telling them something about your personality, and then you're giving them the proof of it. So here's a more specific example that I have used in a job application. I am passionate about community projects, especially those which strive to make the arts more accessible to younger audiences and those with disabilities. For more than 11 years, I have volunteered at a youth club for disabled and able-bodied young people. We coordinate activities in sports, arts and crafts and theatre, and would love to see more barriers to participation in the arts broken down. Point 2. When have you been part of working in a successful team? Why was the team successful, and what part did you play in the team's success? So 5 things to think about here. Were your team successful because you all had a shared vision, you knew what you wanted to achieve? Because you were passionate about what you were doing, what you stood for? Was it because you were able to delegate tasks based on individual strengths? Was it because you were very good at listening to each other? Was it because you were good at keeping the team motivated, keeping up morale? Or was it because you were good at communication? Point 3. Tell me about a situation where you had to modify your plans to take into account someone else's views. So this is an interesting one when you're talking about the voluntary sector, because as a charity you might face many challenges because you're constantly having to take into account lots of people's views. You've got funders, benefactors, staff, volunteers and the public who are donating to your charity. So this question, it goes hand in hand with teamwork really. It's making sure that everybody's views are taken into account, everybody feels valued and listened to. You may have experienced conflict within your team or within the organisation. How did you go about resolving that conflict? Did you achieve a compromise? What was the outcome? Point 4. How do you keep yourself and your team motivated when faced with challenges? Now, as a charitable organisation, a lot of the time you'll face many challenges. Funding is often a big challenge. Perhaps think about as well, did you ever have events where you had to stand out on the streets, when you've been trying to engage people who didn't want to be engaged? How did you keep up the morale? How did you keep the team motivated? Did you perhaps review your aims? So did you say, we're not going to achieve what we set out to achieve, but this was really great because it was good exposure for our organisation? Even if you just did things like sing songs together, How did you keep up the spirits? I think that's really worth mentioning. So did you perhaps change your pitch? Did you review your aims, come up with new ideas? How did you turn what was a negative situation into a really positive one? Point 5, tell us about a time where you have supported someone else to achieve success. So essentially this is about people skills. Have you ever taken under your wing a new volunteer, shown them around, given them lots of tips and advice, or maybe an existing team member or a service user? Did you maybe help someone to learn a new skill or conquer their fears? And think about what your approach to this was. So as I said, this is essentially about people skills. Were you very calm? Did you have to review the way that you were doing it? How did you achieve this? Point 6, when have you worked by using your own initiative? So what was the situation and what was the outcome? So has there been something in the charity that you volunteered at that you thought wasn't working very effectively that could be improved upon? Have you come up with any ideas to bolster the charity's success, maybe raise more money or make something more enjoyable, easier for service users? And how did you go about this? Was it a process that you thought about over time, or have you ever been in a situation where you had to think and act very quickly?